companies that you would think are your competitors, most
No,
likely
no,
you
no.
will end up
Yeah,
you'll go out for dinner together and hang out
I
and
agree.
share
Yeah,
stuff and like it's a very uplifting I don't know if uplifting is the right word, but like
exciting.
supportive. It's a supportive community.
I think so also. I think we always and always have the best conversations. If you've ever run a WooCommerce store, managed a LMS, or built a BuddyBoss powered community, you know how hard scaling WordPress can be. Today's guest built that fix. Welcome back to WP Legends. I'm Gautam, co-founder of Seahawk Media. Joining us today is Michael Eisenwasser, CEO of Rapid Cloud, the high-performance cloud platform built specifically for dynamic WordPress websites. Michael is no stranger to this world. In 2010, he co-founded BuddyBoss, creating one of the most trusted platforms for online communities and LMSs. After growing it for over a decade, BuddyBoss was acquired by Awesomotive in 2024. Now, Michael's channeling all that hard-earned experience into Rapid Cloud, offering tailored hosting with auto scaling, PHP Workers, CDN, Object Cache Pro, you name it, designed for WooCommerce storefronts, robust LMS platforms, high traffic WordPress, BuddyBoss communities, and other sites of all shapes and sizes built on WordPress. Michael, I've been looking forward to this one. Let's start by exploring how your journey with BuddyBoss laid the groundwork for Rapid Cloud.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me and thanks for that generous introduction. How Buddy Boss laid the groundwork. Yeah. So, uh, um, the story of Buddy Boss, the entire time we were running Buddy Boss, we were interested in building a hosting company in the background. So, but Buddy Boss, for those who haven't used it, is a very popular community platform on WordPress that allows you to build basically all the kind of stuff you'd see on Facebook. You have profiles and messages you can send to each other,
Yeah.
notifications, newsfeed, groups, all that. It's a very robust piece of software, also a complicated piece of software. And the number one problem that our customers face for basically the entire time running the company was that they could not find adequate hosting anywhere in the WordPress market. So why is that? The reason is it is really hard to host a social network,
Mm,
exponentially harder than hosting a blog or a publishing site. And I'll
interesting.
get into why our solution ends up working really well for WooCommerce and other things like that as well. But the thing that makes it hard is that every person who's logged in is seeing unique content. So if imagine you have a publishing site, let's say it's like your sales site,
Hmm.
the content doesn't change very frequently. So it's easy to make it fast. You just cache the whole website. And then the server performance itself is not the most paramount thing because even if you have a lot of visits, the host is just they have a pre-generated website they've cached that they're just giving to everybody, right? Page caching. So
Okay.
it's fairly easy to make that fast. And most of the hosts, even the high tier ones, rely a lot on aggressive page caching to make the site fast.
Gotcha.
Not to get too technical, okay? When you have a community, imagine you're on Facebook, right? You're logged in, I'm logged in.
Yes.
You have different messages than me. You have
Hmm.
different notifications than me. You have a
Hmm.
different profile than me.
Hmm.
The structure of the website is the same, but the content is 100% different, basically. So you and I are looking at two different websites.
Yes.
So the server is generating two websites,
Interesting.
and content on that site is changing in real time too. We have in BuddyBoss, you have live messaging, you have notifications pop in
Yes.
every 30 seconds.
True.
So the server is generating two websites, and every 30 seconds or so, it's regenerating them. And that's if there's two of us. If we have 10, then it's generating 10 websites at once, and so on. If you have 100, it's doing 100. And so very quickly, your sites can stall out. And what ends up happening is the site runs out of, it can only handle so many parallel processes. Which means there's a limit to how many concurrent users, how many users can be viewing the site at the same time when they're logged in
I
and
hear
viewing
you.
different content. Once you hit the limit, every subsequent visitor is in a queue waiting for a process to open up to hit the database and render, not
In
render the
simple words,
content, but
does that
but
mean the website
retrieve the
will,
content for them.
so in simple
It'll
words,
get
does that
slow.
mean the website will run slow or won't open? If you can explain.
I mean, in the worst case, you can get to a point where it can't open. Usually, what happens is you just get timeouts. So this
Hmm.
the you will have it's fairly common in popular body boss sites for people to report 15-second page load times, 20-second page load times, or in the app as well. We have the Buddy Boss app we built. It's also a really unique product, but and the app is all 100% APIs, and it's all database retrievals. And you would have customers with 10-second, 50-second, 15-second page load times. And by the way, in WooCommerce, you see this a lot also. When people
True.
have a really popular checkout, they get that problem. So this is what we built it for. And so I can quote WP Lift
Hmm.
did benchmarks on our product,
Gotcha.
and they benchmarked us against Cloudways, WP Engine, Kinsta, like all the ones you've heard of. And what they found is what they did is they simulated scaling up to 5,000 concurrent users to
Hmm.
see what would happen.
Hmm.
And on all the other hosts, they found they slowed down by around 300% or more. And on Rapid Cloud, it slowed down by 11% in their testing when they did that.
I
So
see.
so our performance, if you just have one visitor on the site, we're going to be really fast, but so are most hosts in that scenario. Um, but when you start scaling up and you have lots and lots of users logged in, we pretty much maintain our speed, and the other ones, just stall out.
Gotcha. So would you say is that the unique gap you were trying to fill when you started when you invented Rapid? Because at that time you still own Buddy Boss. Would you say that?
Right. I
Okay.
would say yes, yes. At that time, we still in Buddy Boss. We started working on this in 2022. So
Okay.
we had worked on it for in the background for a while. It's a lot of work to create a hosting
So
company. So
for a decade or so, more than a decade, you were recommending hosting companies, VPS,
we
dedicated
were we
servers.
were yeah, we had a list of recommended hosts and we would partner with some, but
Mhm.
we never had one that we could confidently recommend because
Mhm.
all of them they'd face this problem. Some
I
of the
see.
hosts, I won't name names, but big hosts that everyone knows would
Mhm.
start turning services off because they would say our infrastructure is not designed for that kind of
Wow.
resource usage. So yeah, and we would have to tell them, we'd take them off the list and say, oh, if the site is too big, you can't use that one. So um, this is what would happen. And the Buddy Boss customers, at least half of them are doing online learning. So they're doing like social learning, you could call it, or imagine you're teaching courses.
Of
It's
course.
beneficial to let the students maybe send messages to each other or have like a group
Yeah,
with
so
the
let's say it's
courses
a
in the
fitness
group and a
expert.
mentor students.
Yeah, let's say it's a fitness expert with 20,000 users all over the world. Some are paying, some are not paying, and he has a
Yeah.
webinar or whatever, and whatever the case might be, a lot of concurrent users. That's what
Yeah.
thought of basically, something like that, right?
Yes, lots of concurrent users. So, but the e-learning sites have the same problem as a Buddy Boss site.
Gotcha.
It's not just a brochure site, as they say. It's not just content. It's people are taking their courses. Often they're mixing it with a lot of the e-learning sites are built in such a way that I'm sorry, hold on. I need to close my window because someone's mowing the lawn outside.
No, no problem. No problem. No problem at all.
The the joys of the home office. So
I know. Of course, absolutely.
mostly upsides, but that's one of the downsides. So
I think mostly upsides.
um, the e-learning sites have the same kind of issue where the people are taking the courses independent of each other.
Mhm.
My course progression is different than yours. When I take a quiz, my quiz progression is different than yours. My grade, most of them have a lot of other features like grades, and they have notifications built into them and all kinds of stuff. So they try to make them interactive live experiences. So they have the same problem.
Gotcha.
And a WooCommerce site also has the same problem. When you're in your checkout, I'm in my checkout. I had a client years ago, a Buddy Boss client, who we managed their well, they weren't running Buddy Boss. This is early on when I was doing a lot of agency work
All right.
across WordPress, but under the Buddy Boss brand, we took clients and did projects, and we managed their WooCommerce site. They sold a product called Luminade, and some of you may have heard of them because they got on Shark Tank,
Wow.
and they and I had they were talking to me and said, "Hey, they basically had already gotten an investment from Mark Cuban at the time, and they
Okay.
already knew prior to the show airing,
All
and they
right.
were told when this airs, you're going to have millions, like 10 million people will watch the show, and maybe 3 million of them are going to go to your website and check it out. And it's a WooCommerce site, and you obviously want 100% uptime because you're going to
Of
sell
course.
a crap load." you may sell more in the 30 minutes while the show airs than you've ever sold in your life.
Of course.
And the site and their team was doing stress tests on it, and they put them on expensive hosting. They did stress tests, and they said that your site's probably going to fail, so they moved them off WooCommerce and moved them to Shopify.
Shopify.
What a shame!
Yeah, massive shame indeed.
And 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 if that site was a brochure site, it wouldn't have been a problem. The problem is that everyone's hitting the checkout, and so the site has
I
to the
know.
server has to be able to have like
Oh yes,
unlimited scalability.
of
So
course.
we would be able to handle that now. We could. So these are the kinds of things that people
All
are
of that,
facing. You
all
have
of those things, all of those customers, that feedback which you got, and customer experience,
yes,
you let it was in your mind. Okay, I need to sort this out. It was in your mind. I have to sort
yes,
this out at any cost.
yes. You have customers who are have this big problem for a decade. You can't help but think about it. And they would often blame us also. They would say, how come this software is so slow? It's buggy, it's too slow, blah blah blah. And obviously there's always room for improvement, but 90% of the problem was always the hosting. There's only so far we can go in optimizing the software. At the end of the day, this is dynamic software with a
So,
ton of people logged in,
so now
and the
you're all
server
in.
needs to be able to power it.
So now you're all in on Rapid. Any interesting milestones you want to share, like over the past 2 years or so? Because you started in 2022. It's been roughly
Oh
what,
yeah.
3 years or so?
Well, I mean, all the milestones are in the last 2 years.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So
Whatever you want to share.
we started building it in 2022, in May of 2022,
Mm-hmm.
and we worked on it, and we went live with as a private beta in
Mm-hmm.
October of 23. Okay.
Okay.
So with really great, it was a private invite from BuddyBoss customers, those agency clients we had who we had a relationship with, and also just customers who we knew were really facing these problems and would want to
Of course.
participate in a beta. We had a
Mm-hmm.
private beta. The feedback was tremendous. People were like shocked at how much faster their sites were. Um, and um, and then we went live in January of 24. So
Gotcha.
it hasn't even been 2 years. So that's the first big milestone. The next, recent milestone is that in the beginning of May of this year,
Mm-hmm.
we launched multiple sites per environment, which is a big
Okay.
milestone for us. Kind of an expectation from a lot of customers, but in order to build this crazy scalable infrastructure, the the best path for us was to build it so that each server container has
Mm-hmm.
one site in it. And that allows us to do all this dynamic scaling stuff. To allow multiple sites in the same container with our infrastructure is complicated. So it took a lot of work to do that, but we've done that. And so we launched that at the beginning of
I
May,
saw it on your homepage.
which,
I saw the
yeah,
floating
yeah,
bar on your
awesome.
homepage.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
It's a big milestone. It's because you have customers who have like a big site that they are struggling with and they can bring
Mhm.
it over. But a lot of them have a few other sites that are small and they want to just put them on the same container. They don't want to have a bunch of plans
I
for
see.
cost reasons. And agencies, obviously, you guys are running an agency. Agencies in general, especially, this is really important. We want to be a really great agency partner. And for agencies, you really need like big bulk plans where you can
I
put a ton of
agree. I
sites in them.
agree. I agree. Even after so many years in the WordPress space, and working with so many hosting companies, recommending so many hosting companies, we still struggle sometimes. I'm trying to figure out a multi-site solution for somebody with hundreds
Yeah.
of sites, and we've tried it with, several hosts, and it's just not working out. So I need to hit you up
Mm.
after the podcast and, get a trial license or something. And I want to
Yeah.
host all of that because this is very exciting. So uh, talking about this is what I understand. Hosting is such a saturated space. So many
Mm.
players, so many competitors. So
Right.
rapid edge is what you just explained, concurrent users, BuddyBoss, LMS focused hosting, WooCommerce focused hosting, anything else? Like, because it is a very competitive space for sure, no doubt about it. Cutthroat competition,
Sure.
everybody's trying to undercut pricing. Any thoughts you want to share about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so number one edge is performance, and
Mm,
we're gonna stay
mm,
the most powerful. Our infrastructure is designed in such a way that we can constantly upgrade the servers and the resources in the background
okay,
with like virtually no downtime for the customer. So we're
gotcha.
going to constantly, there's a reason it's called rapid. Rapid
Mm,
means fast.
yes.
Um, Outside of that, this is fully managed hosting.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
we have 24/7 live chat support. Excellent. You can look us up on Trustpilot, like excellent, excellent, excellent support feedback. But not only that, our user dashboard, we've learned so much over the years from customers,
Mhm.
not just about performance, but about the features that they want in the actual dashboard.
Yes.
So we built this really awesome. I can tell you, talking about agencies, Buddy Boss has an agency,
Hmm.
and I ran that agency from the beginning. Me
A
and
decade
Tom.
plus. A
My,
decade plus.
yeah,
Precise.
I would do sales calls, and I had so many clients. I would do the sales
Yeah.
call. I would manage the project, work with the developers and the
Yeah.
client. In the early years of Buddy Boss, we had to finance building this SaaS product basically.
Hmm.
And we used the agency to finance all that. In the early years, it was most of our revenues from the agency. We spent so much time doing that. So I've spent so much time talking to clients, as has Tom, as has the Buddy Boss support team and all the feedback we get back from that. And we know the kinds of problems that customers have and developers have, right? So we've
Oh,
built our
yes.
dashboard to be really, really awesome. It's super easy to use, very clean, simple, but it has all the tools that you would need in there. Very competitive with other hosts and some things you don't see in other hosts. So, for example, if you're a Buddy Boss customer, there's a Buddy Boss. If your site has a Buddy Boss app, when you um, open the site administration area in our dashboard, there's a Buddy Boss section. And in there, you can request app builds and download app builds and configure
Ah,
your app.
so
Yeah,
very
which is
easy.
awesome.
Basically, you don't have to figure out, you save a lot of time. Everybody wants time. Everybody's hard pressed for time, especially in the agency world,
It's
especially.
time and simplicity. Like if you want to share, if you're building an app and you want to share a test app for people to download, they have to scan a QR code that's generated in the BuddyOS app plugin in the WordPress admin. If I just want people to download my app and play with it, customers, whatever, I don't want them all going to my WordPress admin. So we know that. So we built that in there. For if you install WooCommerce, we automatically detect that and add a WooCommerce settings area where you can install ElasticPress with Elasticsearch, which will make all the searching of your cart like instant. And we have
Gotcha.
other options to improve the performance of WooCommerce. We have automated backups in the platform. We know people care about security. We partner with Monarchs and PatchDeck.
I was about
So
to
your
ask
site
you that
is,
question. Yeah, and those are big names.
yeah,
Those are big names.
big name. So Monarchs does scanning of the server itself for
Mhm.
malware and
Mhm.
patches it.
Yes.
And PatchStack has a database of basically vulnerabilities for WordPress
Yeah, they're
plugins and
just
themes
growing
of
and
WordPress
growing.
itself.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
growing.
and so
They're doing.
there's
Yeah.
so we have those tools available to you for performance, and it's also awesome that those run at the server level, that they're not plugins. When you add a security plugin, it's in the background doing stuff all the time and using up
Of course.
resources and slowing down your site. And if your
Yeah.
site goes offline, and gets hacked, what's the appeal of having your security or your backup system as a plugin in the site that is now offline?
Gotcha.
So, right. So we do all that in the dashboard. Our backup system is incremental, so it doesn't consume all your disk space.
Mhm.
It's doing incremental. So we do all that. We also have you can update plugins and themes in the dashboard. You can roll back a plugin to an older version. If the site has a problem, you can roll back the whole site. We have the
Or
file
people can
manager,
just
everything.
reach out to your support and they can at least guide you to do what,
The
basically.
support will help with everything, of course. We have really awesome support. They help with everything. And we have free migration. So if you want to come over, we have a free trial. You can do a 3-day free trial to just play with the platform. And then once you have a paid account, you can request a migration, and our support team will white glove. They'll help with everything and move the whole site over to you for free.
That's pretty cool. And tell me something. What about events? I know previously you used to visit WordCamp. Were you at WordCamp Europe by any chance? Maybe I missed you there.
I was not at WordCamp Europe. Wes, who's our CTO and basically manages like the whole tech infrastructure, he was there.
Okay,
Um, I go to a lot of WordPress events. The last event I went to was not actually a WordCamp. It was a PressConf,
of course.
which is a big WordPress event, but not
Yes,
officially a
yes.
WordCamp. That was in Arizona just recently. I was just there. A bunch of
There's
people
Cabo
were at that
Press.
event. It was
There's
great.
WordCamp, PressConf,
Yeah,
Domain
yeah.
Days. I
So
would say something. Yeah.
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 So I went to that one. And then the
Are you going to be
last
in
year
US? Are you going to be traveling to US?
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure
Oh, we're going to see
I'll
you
most
there.
definitely.
Me and my co-founder
Yeah,
Ryan will be there. We will see you there.
cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I usually go to WordCamp US. I was there last year.
Yeah,
Um,
we missed
I've
you
been to
there
lots
too.
of WordCamps, lots of WordCamps. I've been to WordCamp Asia and Thailand. I've been to WordCamps in India. I've been to WordCamps
I think
all
when I
over.
was at I was at the reason I brought about this topic was I was at WordCamp Basel.
Yeah.
Okay, and we go to
Mm.
WordCamps whenever we get an opportunity, especially the Europe
Yeah.
and the US ones. Sometimes with Asia because it clashes with a lot of work and stuff. Even though I go to visit my family in Delhi, etc. Next one actually in
Mm.
Asia is in Mumbai, which is very easy for me because I have to go to India.
That one's gonna be awesome.
I know.
The one. Oh, I was at the last one in Manila also. I was at
Oh,
that
that's pretty
WordCamp
good.
Manila.
The reason,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The reason I bring about is whenever you go to WordCamp, you talk to people, and you just, there's so many opportunities, you know.
Mm.
At this WordCamp also, like in Basel, our calendars were booked solid even before we reached there.
Mm.
One of the most
Yeah.
interesting meetings I had was at a speakeasy bar at 1 a.m. in the night. Okay. And
Mm.
that is going to be a six-figure opportunity for us. And I think our
Mhm.
listeners, and I keep on reminding everybody that how interesting it is to meet people face to face at WordCamps, going to booths, figuring out new plugins, new tools, new hosting companies in the ecosystem. So important for people to travel and go and figure out things. And WordCamp Portland
Oh
is
yeah.
pretty going to be pretty big also.
I agree. I love going to WordCamps. Anyone who's never been to WordCamp, if you get the opportunity to go, I would recommend going. You meet, first off, so many companies show up to the WordCamps.
Hmm.
So, right. So so many people, CEOs and like, if you're a business person, there's a lot of value in going to the WordCamp and meeting all the other, there are people we've met who we've partnered with at the WordCamps, or partners that we have, and you strengthen the relationship. And it's also an opportunity in this virtual world to meet with staff. When I was in WordCamp Manila, a bunch of old Buddy Boss staff were there. We were hanging out, went out for
Yeah,
dinner.
yeah, yeah.
It's great. And then there's, the sessions are okay, but mostly it's you're there for the experience of all the networking.
I
The
agree.
wor- the Anyone who's never been to a WordCamp, the vibe at a WordCamp is not like a regular trade show. It's very collaborative, very positive, very friendly. Companies that you would think are your competitors, most
No,
likely
no,
you
no.
will end up
Yeah,
you'll go out for dinner together and hang out
I
and
agree.
share
Yeah, yeah.
stuff, and like it's a very uplifting, I don't know if uplifting is the right word, but like
Exciting.
supportive. It's a supportive community.
I think so also. I think we always and always have the best conversations after the
Mm,
after the event is over in the end, and we Google
yeah.
go to the best Asian food restaurants or speakeasy
Yeah.
bars and stuff like that. And I'm
Uh,
looking forward to doing that with you in the US when I
Um,
travel to
Me
Portland.
too. For people who don't know, I talk to people. I'm surprised how many people don't know about WordCamps. There are three major WordCamps
I
every
know.
year. There's lots of regional ones. If you're in a big city, there's probably like a yearly one in your city. But the three big ones, there's WordCamp, one hosted in the US, one in Asia, and one in Europe every
Sure.
year.
Yes.
So depending on which region you live in, you can see where the next one is. The next US one is in Portland again,
Yes. Nike
like
Town.
last year.
Nike Town, as you call it.
Yeah, yeah. Port, were you there last year at
Yes,
Portland?
I was the same place. I
That
know. I
It
know.
was a great event. I guess up until the very end when things
Massive.
were crazy, but the actual event was really really great. And WordCamp Asia this year is going to be in Mumbai, which is going to be wild. It's going to be the biggest turnout of any WordCamp in history for
And the best
sure.
food. And the best food. Let's not
Oh my
forget.
God. I've spent a lot of time in India. You said your relatives are in Delhi. I've been to Delhi a
Yeah.
lot of times too. My cousin, his wife used to work for the embassy in Chanakyapuri.
Oh, wow. That's very central Delhi. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I stayed at their house for weeks in Chanakyapuri. And I also stayed at a hotel in Paharganj. I remember a
Oh,
long time ago.
that's crazy. That's crazy. But I'm glad you experienced all of that. It completely changes the perspective of how you deal with people globally. Now,
Yeah.
shifting gears to AI. Let's talk about that for a second. Are you
Mm.
using what is your SaaS stack in your company? What project management tools are you using? Are you using I know you're using Slack for sure, but what else for project management aside?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. So Slack, all the communications in Slack, and we have all kinds of tools feeding in alerts for things in Slack. That's what we
Okay.
use for, notifications of whatever's going on.
Mm.
Um, Jira is our project management
Okay.
tool, which I've used for a long time. I really like Jira. Back in the day, we used Trello. We tried different things, Asana. I think Jira is like a really excellent tool. Um, and which other things were you asking about? Figma
Anything
for
else?
design,
Live chat,
and
live chat,
and
ticketing.
live chat is done through Intercom,
Yep.
which has been really good. They have our whole knowledge base is stored in Intercom,
All right.
And so the chatbot is trained on the knowledge base. And so the AI, the Intercom AI is trained on the knowledge base because it's still there. So when you log in to the dashboard, you can go to the little chat bubble and you can talk to support. But we also have like recommended articles in there and stuff. And we find that a decent percentage of our support requests are, well, almost half of them use AI at some level,
You know,
and
I
a
brought, you
decent
know,
percentage of them are solved totally through the
You know why I
chat.
brought up this topic? Because very recently we are using AI in everything. SEO, not
Mhm.
obviously copy paste,
Yeah,
but we have a process. We spend half an hour, 1 hour humanizing it, meta tactiles
yeah.
it, and whatever. We started using AI for quoting, like in services. You need to create complex quotes for WordPress websites, WooCommerce, etc. But what we do is we are able to create very beautiful proposals also now. So there's so many multiple uses with respect to AI which is coming up. And I think it's going to be
Mm,
revolutionary what's going to happen in the next few years. I'm not even talking
for
about 10
sure.
years. I'm talking about 1 or 2 years. Click of a button and boom, Lovable will create an app or a website in like 30 seconds. It's insane what's
It's
happening.
true. For
So
sure.
the that's the reason. That's the reason which brings me to my next question. Where do you think WordPress and WordPress hosting is going in the next 5 years? No more, no less. Five
Oh
years.
wow.
What do you think?
Oh
Bullish,
wow.
bearish?
Very, very hard to predict. Very hard to predict.
Hard to predict. Okay.
Um, yeah. So for sure, the speed at which you can produce
Hmm.
things is increasing, obviously, and is
Okay.
going to increase dramatically. So the ability to produce a theme or something like that is going to get really, really easy. Um, will it increase or decrease WordPress's market share? I don't know. There's the argument that if people can just produce anything really easily, they may not need a CMS. I think there are
Hmm.
use cases of WordPress that are going to reduce,
There's Framer,
particularly.
there's Dora, new companies coming up every
There's
now
a
and
lot. I
then.
I
Yeah.
think for pure publishing, also in let's say a lot of WordPress is used as a for publishing. I
Hmm.
think online publishing as an industry is going to
Hmm.
hurt
Hmm.
because ChatGPT is basically reading that content and regurgitating it. So many of the things you would normally go to a website for, you just go to ChatGPT and it answers it for you
So
without you ever
true.
visiting the website.
It's
So
so
at
true.
some point, what happens is the people who run that website, the old model of having content and advertising is going to get tough because your visits are going to ChatGPT not paying any ad revenue when it scans your site. So things are going to have to evolve for those
That I'm
publishing
I'm
sites.
actually I'm actually paranoid about SEO every nonstop because we spent so much time, decades
Yeah,
and decades on getting ranked on
and
Google. And nowadays I am personally using everything ChatGPT. My dog ate a block of cheese
exactly. So
4 days ago.
so
He
you
was
can.
throwing up and I used ChatGPT to figure out
Yes,
everything.
yes. So when the site is really a content type site,
Yeah.
I think some of them are going to have trouble. They're going to have to evolve.
Yeah.
Um, because ChatGPT, like yeah, ChatGPT is going to eat up that, I think. Um, but there's a whole other use case of WordPress, which is with the ability to build software quickly, you can build
Mm.
more sophisticated stuff more easily,
Mm.
and more people will do it. And internet usage in general is going up, and the hosting market is projected to grow, I think, about 20% annually for like the next 10
Yeah,
years
WordPress is
in
not going
general.
any. I don't think WordPress is going anywhere. It's only going to grow.
I don't think so
40%,
either.
40% of the internet for sure. It's just that I hope and I pray that it can keep up. It's very difficult for us to keep up, no matter how hard we try.
Mm,
Even if we are up 20
yeah,
24 hours a day, I can't keep up with
yeah,
GPT, Google Gemini, new updates. It's insane. It's so difficult to keep
it
up.
it is. But you don't have to, we're so in the early days of the AI. What's going to happen, I think, is people who are just it's going to get easier and easier to build software. And so you're going to have, because it's easier and easier and the market will be flooded with software, the cost for software will come down in
Hmm.
general, I think. And so you're not going to need to know how to use all these, even though it's so much easier to code now. An individual, most people won't ever need to. I think you're just going to have an abundance of software available to you that's inexpensive that you can use. And I think WordPress will continue to be really popular because the ecosystem around is so huge, and all these plugin developers are not just sitting around; they're all infusing AI into everything. So
Gotcha.
it is the hook that you can plug in all the stuff and make really complicated sites really
So,
quickly. I still believe that you will have um, software vendors who
okay.
are producing software with interfaces and all this stuff. I still believe that's going to be the case. But I think you're going to have more and more sites that are really interactive are going to thrive. Sites that are pure content are going to hurt. For the reason I said before, that they're just the model is going to be hard when ChatGPT is like taking all your content and rephrasing it to people and they never hit your site.
This question which I asked, where do you see WordPress going in the next 5 years? I ask everybody. And I love that
Mm,
everybody has very interesting perspectives, but everybody
mm.
comes down to the fact that, okay, 5 years, I don't think WordPress is going anywhere. It's only going to grow. Everybody.
Oh, definitely not going
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
So safe to say, Rapid's trajectory and roadmap, whatever your roadmap is for the next 6 months, 12 months, is hyper
Mm.
focused around the WordPress ecosystem, no matter what, for sure.
Oh, totally. And we're not focused on, although we are great for these types of sites, but our core audience is not the simple to host publishing sites. It is
Gotcha.
the sites that are SaaS like that are
Gotcha.
interactive, and if you, which I think those types of sites you can build on lots of platforms and s- products like Buddy. I know that Buddy Boss internally is using AI in their software development all over the place now. Like those types of products can continue to um can advance at a faster pace now with the AI. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Gotcha.
So,
That's cool. We're just coming up on time, so just a couple of quick personal questions. Any podcast
mm.
or Netflix which you shows which you're watching or like?
Oh, podcast or Netflix?
Amazon Prime, Apple TV, something very interesting which really
I
you're hooked
I
on.
I don't really watch a lot of TV. In my free time, what I like to do is
Mm.
get off the computer, off the
Okay.
TV as much as possible. I play tennis, I go for runs, I ride my bike, I go
But
fishing, I go
don't tell me,
skiing.
are
That's
you
what
a
I try to
marathon
do.
runner? Are you a marathon runner by any chance?
No, not competitive. I just like to get out of the house, get nature. That's but I do watch some shows. That the show I just finished watching just very recently is White Lotus,
Oh,
which
I
I'm
love
sure
that.
lots of people have watched. But I
And,
watched all three seasons back to back
and
and finished it
have
a
you booked
couple
your
weeks
flight
ago.
to Thailand or no with your family or no?
I've been to Thailand I've been to Thailand a bunch of times. Um, I've been to Thailand many times. Yeah, that's what I would say I just finished watching.
And you're in Chicago,
Um,
and you're based in Chicago. I know I was there a decade ago, and had the best
yeah,
food, etc. I definitely intend
yeah.
to be there. And I remember I was there at a time when it was truly windy, and I experienced the Chicago windy weather. I know it's summertime
Uh,
right now, but
yeah. It's they call it the lake effect. So I live in the suburbs, northwest suburbs. So I'm not that close to downtown. So where
okay.
I am, the wind, it gets cold, don't get me wrong, in the winter. But the
Mm,
wind is not a huge factor. It's you really feel the winds when you're in the city is right on the lake. And the
gotcha.
closer you get to if you're on the lakefront and you walk 2 blocks west, the
Yeah,
wind is like half. If you're but what happens is all this wind goes across Lake Michigan and just right into
yeah,
the city. So
yeah.
when you're downtown, yeah, I've been there in snowstorms when I was just younger and lived downtown, and you feel like you're walking like this against the wind. But out here in the suburbs, it's not really like that.
I love
But
it.
we do have the extreme weather. It's super hot right now. Winter you get super cold. We got everything.
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
as the UK. The final question. This again, I ask everybody. $100 million
Huh.
in your bank tomorrow, no questions asked. What's the first thing you're gonna do?
$100 million in my bank.
No questions
Uh,
asked. Work,
no question.
vacation, retire.
The first thing I'm gonna do is take my family on a year-long vacation.
Hmm.
I'm gonna keep working, but I'm gonna I travel have traveled a lot in my life,
Hmm.
and I would love to show there are all kinds of places in the world I haven't seen that I'd like to see, and I'd like to take my family to see.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if I had that, I would take a break, and for a year, I would just stay like a couple months at a time in different places around the world. That's the first thing I would do.
I would do the exact same thing, to be very honest with you. Exact same
I
thing. 1 year. No more thought.
I'm not yeah I would not I'm not that interested in like, oh, I'm gonna buy some huge yacht or something like that. What
Same.
my value in that money is you only have one life and you only have so many years available to you. I just want to experience stuff.
I could not agree with you more. I would do the exact same thing, but I'm a happy compulsive
Mm.
workaholic. I have to work for sure.
Yeah, for sure,
We
for
will, we will,
sure. For even if I was traveling, it doesn't mean I would not work,
of course,
but I
we
would
will
just
slack every now and
freely.
then. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first thing I would do. Um,
But that's pretty cool.
and then after that, I would also want to use that money to I don't know what I would do with all that money, but I wouldn't only invest it in things for myself. I'd want to help people out around me and around the world. And I don't know. I would do some hands-on charitable stuff for sure also.
Great. That's good to know. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on
Mhm.
my show, Michael. This was, like I mentioned, I was really looking forward to having you on my show.
Mm.
And I believe our listeners can find you online on LinkedIn. What's the best way? X.com.
Oh, m- me personally, LinkedIn. If you look, I'm pretty active on there. Yeah, that's the best for me, LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being on my show. Until next time,
Yeah.
everybody. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.